We focus a lot on nutrition in our office, so I decided to do a workshop on what supplements should I take. So what are supplements? Supplements are designed to provide additional vitamins and minerals that we don't adequately get in our diet. So today, especially in America, we do not have the greatest diets. We have a lot of processed food that we eat, which do not contain the vitamins and minerals that our body needs. Obviously, the best source to get these vitamins and minerals is from our food. But if we can't get it from there, we do want to supplement because our body does need these nutrients. So what are we not getting adequate amounts of from our diet? So 99% of us don't get the adequate amount that we need. So I do recommend quite a few supplements. Generally, for most patients, every man, woman, and child should be doing an omega-3 supplement. So that's an essential fatty acid. It's involved with DHA and EPA. It's very good for your brain and nervous system development. And it actually comes from fish. And we don't necessarily eat a lot of fish in our diet, so I do recommend people supplement with this. But it's extremely important in helping normal neural development, so I do put all of my children on this. You do have to make sure you're getting a good source because you have to worry about mercury, contamination, and things like that. So I will recommend at the end some just good companies that provide omega-3s. You do want to look for about 400 to 500 milligrams of DHA and about 700 to 800 milligrams of EPA. So they sound like a lot, but you really do need this amount to actually provide the proper nutrition for that brain and nervous system. But what you're going to notice are improvements with memory, circulation, heart function, nerve nutrition, even weight loss, just to name a few. So we need to, like I said, be careful of that mercury contamination. So ones that we recommend in our office, Innate Choice omega-3s, which come from the seas of Norway. They've been double-blind tested. There's no mercury, no issues with that. And usually 2 grams for men and 1 grams for women, because that will give you that proper amount of EPA and DHA. And then Nordic Naturals is another good brand. Our Barleans, which you can actually get at Wegmans now, which is nice. They come in a liquid form if people don't like to take pills, but just make sure you're getting that right amount of EPA and DHA. Flaxseed is also a good source of omegas. You just have to grind it up before you use it, because that's where the nutrients are actually getting absorbed, is when they've been grinded up. So flaxseed is also a form of omega-3. So some people sprinkle that on their salads and things like that rather than taking a pill. So omega-6 versus omega-3. So we talk about we need to supplement with omega-3. We don't really need to supplement with omega-6 because our bodies are already getting enough of that in our diet. We don't get it from the fish, which is the omega-3. So most people, a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 should be 2 to 1. In the US, the average ratio is 6 to 1. So we're getting way too much omega-6 and not enough of that omega-3. So sources of omega-6 are your nuts and your meats, which most people are getting adequate amounts of, but not enough of that 3. So we want to make sure we're getting that through supplementation. Vitamin D3 is the other thing that I strongly recommend all patients, even babies, get on right from the start. And depending on what your blood levels are at, I always recommend between 1,000 IUs as a maintenance level, and then sometimes 5,000 IUs a day. My maintenance level in the winter is actually 5,000 IUs because vitamin D is synthesized with the sun, and especially in the winter, we're not seeing it as much. So I do up my D levels in the winter time and recommend patients do that as well. But over half of the Americans are actually deficient. So most of you that have been tested probably have found that you are as well. But especially in our area, we don't see the sun, so we most likely are going to be deficient in it. But benefits of D, they actually have research out showing that it prevents cancer, minimizes your risk of heart disease, reduces that inflammatory processes, increases immune function. So a lot of times when kids are getting sick, or even adults, I ask about probiotics and D3 because D3 is huge for immune system function. So you can either get it from the sunlight, so get out there 10 minutes a day, but again, a lot of times we don't see it and we're too far north to get the actual direct rays, so we do supplement. But deficiencies in vitamin D3 have been linked to MS, which is multiple sclerosis, juvenile diabetes, and many forms of cancers. And I do want to make sure with vitamin D, with adequate blood levels, once you get those tested, you want to make sure therapeutic range of D3 is anywhere between 60 and 80. So if you get black blood work and it's over 30, it's going to tell you that you're normal. However, therapeutic ranges where it's actually working and having a good impact on the body is between 60 and 80. So relook at those levels and make sure you're between that range. And if you're not, take a little bit more to get that number up there, and then you can level it off and do a maintenance dose. Calcium, I do recommend a lot of times for women especially to get on a little bit of calcium. You don't need to do a full 1,200 milligrams, but usually about 600 to 800 because you will get some of it in your food. But you should also take magnesium with it because it can help reduce the effects of constipation, because a lot of people complain, well, every time I take calcium or iron, I get constipated. So if you take magnesium with it, which a lot of our supplements actually have the magnesium already with the calcium, it will counteract that constipating binding effect. And then vitamin D will also increase your absorption of calcium. So good sources of calcium just from food are going to be green leafy vegetables, especially. Dairy is not a good form of calcium, despite what we are told. The people that created Milk Builds Strong Bones is the dairy industry, and they've actually done research to support the opposite. People that have drank more milk have actually been at greater risk for osteoporotic hip fracture. Because of the way we homogenize and pasteurize our milk today, our body's not utilizing the calcium from it. So I always tell people to do green leafy vegetables, and if kids don't want to do those, obviously, we can sneak them in smoothies and things like that, but we can also supplement if we need to. So we use companies, Claire Labs is one of the ones we use, Standard Process, Designs for Health, or even Lori's Natural Food has some great brands of all different vitamins and supplements. So with multivitamin, usually I recommend most patients get on a multivitamin, especially if they don't have a great diet. But you have to be careful of your sources. So we want to stay away from those one-a-days, the Centrum. They have a coating on them that doesn't allow for proper absorption. They may be a little cheaper, but your body's not actually absorbing it and utilizing it. So spend a few extra dollars and get a brand from Lori's, or we use some supplement companies in our office and get a good multi. So you can test the current vitamin that you have by taking the pill in the morning and putting it in some water and see if it actually dissolves, and come back later on in the day and see, okay, does the pill still look the same? Well, that's what's happening in your body. Your body's not breaking it down and utilizing it. So take that test home if you're using one of those one-a-days in Centrum, put it in some water, see if it dissolves in a few hours, and you'll notice most likely that it's not going to. And some people, they don't like bigger pills. Some multis are bigger. So you can cut the pill in half and do half in the morning and half later on in the day. And that will allow you to utilize them the most as well. But give your body the right amount of fuel that you need. Don't overfill the tank. So just a standard multivitamin is going to be good. You don't need to be taking a ton of extra minerals and supplements as well. But the multi-dose recommended, usually you're going to find about 2,500 units of vitamin A. You're going to have some B6, B12, vitamin C. Usually there's about an average on D3 anywhere between 400 and 1,000 IUs. But again, that might not be enough, so we do recommend extra of the D. Then it'll have some E, some folate, some B1. So it's going to cover all your general vitamins. And then some of them will also contain some minerals as well. But you're going to have a good broad spectrum of vitamin Bs and vitamin Cs and Es, which are your antioxidants. So just look at the label and make sure you're getting a decent amount of all those. Since some multivitamins do have the minerals, like I said, with them, so look and see. Some calcium on average is 1,000, which will be a good amount. Magnesium is about 400 milligrams we want a day. Selenium, we want about 200 micrograms a day. And then zinc, we want about 15 milligrams a day. And then potassium, you can get it in a supplement form, or you can just have some more fruits, specifically bananas and things like that will have some extra potassium in them. But just take a look at the vitamin that you're taking. One, make sure it's a good source, but two, make sure it's got the adequate amounts of vitamins and minerals that we want to have. So women who are menstruating, I do recommend they do take some iron because with the blood loss, you are going to want to put that back in your system, that iron. So usually about 5,000 units of vitamin A too, because if you are going to be getting pregnant, your babies are going to need good amounts of A and folate. So men and postmenopausal women don't need that extra iron with their multivitamins, so you can either get it with or without iron. So usually the men, I say they don't need the extra because they're eating enough meats and fruits and vegetables that are going to have the iron already. And then no more than 25,000 units of vitamin, or 2,500 units of vitamin A per day. Men and postmenopausal women won't need more than that because they won't obviously be getting pregnant. Additional supplements that I recommend for certain patients, not everyone. CoQ10, about 200 milligrams a day. It's a powerful antioxidant. It's great for your cardiovascular system. So anyone that's got heart issues or cholesterol issues, I always am recommending CoQ10. And it's also going to help with energy levels. Glucosamine or chondroitin, I usually try to find glucosamine by itself because it's better absorbed than the glucosamine chondroitin together. Around 1,500 milligrams a day. This is going to be good for joints. So people with arthritis and different conditions like that, glucosamine might be helpful for them. SAMe, which can help with depression, arthritis, liver conditions. That could be a good supplement that people can help naturally fight those different conditions. Just a general immune support. Always probiotic is huge, which we're going to talk about. But a lot of times I'll find a immune blend where it's got echinacea, zinc, vitamin C, selenium. Those are all immune system boosters. So especially in the winter months, you can take a little bit of extra of those, and that will help get you through the winter where we're more likely to get sick. For memory, you can do ginkgo, ginseng, rosemary. So those are all natural supplements for those types of conditions. And then adrenals. So adrenals are one of the organs in our body that releases cortisol. And a lot of us are releasing too much cortisol throughout the day because we are a go society. We're constantly under a lot of stress, so our body's constantly releasing cortisol. So we get what's called adrenal exhaustion. So symptoms of adrenal burnout: chronic fatigue, that you're craving sweets or sugars or salts, low blood pressure, low immune system function, so you're always getting sick, and then distaste for meat. So big thing is you want to balance your blood sugar. So make sure you're not eating foods that have a really high glycemic index. So you want to make sure a lot of those processed foods are going to have higher glycemic indexes, which is going to spike and drop your insulin levels. And we want to make sure we try to keep a steady level throughout the day. So eat more of your fruits and vegetables and nuts and proteins. Those are all going to be a balanced blood sugar. So we actually have companies that do an adrenal support. They put a blend together. Usually the blends contain B5, B6, vitamin C, ashwagandha. We use Claire or Metagenics. They have a great adrenal support. But a lot of men and women are in adrenal exhaustion. So I do recommend a little supplementation just to help reset those adrenals and get everything back in balance. Probiotics. So this is probably, if everyone can only do one supplement, I will recommend a probiotic. The reason that I do that is because it's going to allow that gut flora to be replenished, and your gut's your second brain. So you can have so many positive effects by just cleaning up your gut. So it contains the healthy bacteria that is necessary for proper function and digestion in your immune system. So 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So when you clean up your gut, you're also going to clean up the brain, but also the immune system. So America diets are dangerously deficient. So that's why a lot of times kids are getting so sick, is because they're eating tons of processed food, nothing with nutrition in there, and it's just totally messing up their gut, causing leaky gut and a host of other issues, constipation and things like that. So a good probiotic will help replenish that good gut flora. And then what it'll also do is help the bacteria that is destroyed by eating the sugars, grains, antibiotics, prescription drugs. So kids that have been on a lot of antibiotics, or adults, we really want to make sure they're getting on a good probiotic to replenish that good gut flora that's been lost with those antibiotics and other prescription medications. We use Claire Labs. They have amazing probiotics. You should keep them in the fridge, because they're live bacteria, so we want to make sure they're cool at all times. They have a great infant probiotic, so I put all my children on an infant powder just to get their good gut flora right from the beginning. It'll minimize risks of allergies and asthma. The research is showing if you give them a good probiotic from the beginning, it'll minimize the risks of those. So we use that infant probiotic, or the kids use a Metagenics chewable as well. It's a grape flavor, so kids love that. But we do notice by cleaning up that gut, kids have a lot of behavioral improvements as well. So it's not just about cleaning up the digestive tract and having digestive improvements. You're also going to have brain improvements as well. So things like mood disorders, depression, anxiety, OCD, meltdowns, behavioral issues, all of those things can get better by just cleaning up the gut. So I usually have patients start with 1 capsule every other day, and we work up to every day. So you got to make sure the body gets used to it. So we kind of go slow with it and make it a process and make sure that the body adjusts well to it. But usually people say, my one thing that I always get is, oh, well, I take yogurt every day, or I have yogurt every day, so that's my probiotic. Well, just for instance, we use that Claire Labs Therabiotic Complete, which is a broad spectrum probiotic. That's got 25 billion colonies of probiotic, and the average yogurt has about 2 billion. So even if you have yogurt every day, you should still be supplementing with a probiotic to get more of that good gut flora. And the other thing you have to worry about with yogurt is that it contains a lot of sugars, possibly some dyes and things like that. So just be aware of what yogurt that you are consuming. So make sure you're choosing good sources of supplements. So these are just a list of a few that we use. You really should get them from a professional or a health food store that's like Lori's, because that's where all the good brands are going to be. Be careful with Wegmans and Walmart and things like that, because they don't always carry good sources. So like I said, the One-A-Days, the Centrums, the weight loss ones, all those things are usually bad sources, so you want to try to stay away from them. So how do you know if it's a good source? So I already talked about this, but put that vitamin in a cup of water and see how long it takes to dissolve. If it takes all day, your body's not absorbing it either. So just spend those couple extra dollars, get them at Lori's, get them here, and just make sure you're getting a good quality, because otherwise you're throwing it away anyway because your body's not absorbing it. So make sure your digestion is at its peak performance. So how do we do that? Obviously, we just talked about get on a good probiotic. Average dose, probably about 25 billion colonies. Kids can do less. They can do about 10 billion colonies. Getting regular corrective adjustments, because you want to make sure that nervous system's functioning at 100%. So a lot of my kids that come in with constipation and different digestive issues like that, we look at that lumbar spine and see if that nerve is communicating properly in that area. The other thing that I notice is we're not drinking enough water in our society. So we should be drinking half of our body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should be drinking about 75 ounces of water a day. That's going to keep things moving and keep things flowing through there. So we also do a gut protocol in our office on some patients where we use digestive enzymes, we use probiotic, and then we use natural antifungals, because a lot of times yeast can be an issue for people. So we're getting an overgrowth of yeast, which is a fungus. So we want to make sure we get that out of there. And we have natural antifungals rather than being put on a prescription antifungal. I also recommend patients cut out gluten, dairy, and soy. Those are the biggest inflammatory foods. So we start there and see how people respond as far as their gut health. Usually that they'll see an improvement with eliminating those. And then if we need to try some other things down the road, we will do that. But like I said, your gut's your second brain. It's where your neurotransmitters are produced, like serotonin, melatonin, dopamine, things like that. And then it's also where your immune system lives. So those are really important systems that we want to make sure they're functioning at its best. So does anyone have any questions today? So I just like to say that not everyone needs all of those supplements that I recommended. I did, in the beginning, I said omega-3, vitamin D3, probiotic, good multivitamin. Those are really essential for all of us. And then based on your specific condition and what you have going on with your body, I'll make more specific recommendations for you individually. So if you ever need to sit down and have a nutrition consult, I'd be happy to do that with you. So hopefully you all learned something today, and hope you guys have a good night.